So one of my favorite senators, Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, has been chairing a Rules Committee hearing in which they have been looking at the abuse and the threats and abusive conduct, is the phrase, around election workers across America. This is a phenomena that pretty much did not exist before Donald Trump started lying about losing the election in 2020. But his lies have animated, millions of Americans to, well, I don't know if it's millions, but certainly enough Americans that we're seeing election workers now just quitting in droves, which is going to be extremely problematic this year and in particular next year as we try to hold an election. The threats against election workers have worsened since 2020. 12 of Arizona's 15 counties lost their chief of elections in the last 3 years. Arizona's been one of those states that's been particularly hard hit because you've got Carrie Lake there, who's still spouting conspiracy BS and claiming that she didn't lose her election, Trump didn't lose his election, put us back into power, quack, quack, quack. More than 50 top local officials resigned during that same period in Pennsylvania, according to Amy Klobuchar. The entire staff of the election officials in Buckingham County, Virginia, left earlier this year, according to Senator Klobuchar. Why? Because these people are getting death threats. They're getting intimidation. Their kids are getting stalked. Their houses are being surveilled. They're getting weird phone calls in the middle of the night. They're getting email death threats. It's reached the point now where there is some doubt about whether we can, adequately administer our elections. Deb Fischer, who is the ranking Republican in Nebraska, in their House, she said, in recent years, election officials have faced both cybersecurity threats and physical threats. They have struggled to retain experienced poll workers and to recruit and train new poll workers. But, since 2020, since Donald Trump started his big lie campaign, it has gotten really bad. Remember what he did to Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman? These two black women who, mother and daughter, who were they were volunteers. Down in Atlanta, they were helping to count votes. They were, let's do our civic duty. In fact, Shay is the daughter. Ruby, I believe, is the mother. I may have that backwards, but I think not. And she pointed out in one of the hearings that her mom called her up and said, hey, this is your civic duty. Her mom was raised in my generation. My mom went, when I was 7, 8 years old, I'd go down to the local elementary school, the Kendon Elementary School, and there was there's my mom at the table at the front of the school checking people in to vote. And the little auditorium, the gymnasium had been, they had all the voting machines set up in there. These were the old crank machines, the old lever machines. And we all learned, my brothers and I and everybody in our community learned that this is part of your obligation to your country. If you love your country, you want to support democracy. Well, now, and obviously, Ruby Freeman believed that, as did Shay Moss. Now they're hiding from these right-wing whack jobs. Where is this going to lead? Will we be able to have safe, fair, free elections next year? I guarantee you there are Republicans and there are militia members who are going to do everything they can to say no to prevent free and fair elections in the United States. And that is terrible. This is the state of democracy now. We've got to do something about this.